Today on Just in Perspective, the Trump administration goes after the source of DEI and ESG in corporations. A Somali refugee gives us a glimpse at exactly what went wrong in Minnesota, Maine, and many other places for that matter. And we discuss new updates on the case of Charlie Kirk's alleged murderer and how TPUSA is moving on from here. I'm Jared Justin, and this is Just in Perspective. President Trump just signed a new executive order aimed at curbing the outsized influence of a couple of proxy advisors who are using that influence to cram DEI and ESG into thousands of companies across America. An excerpt from the order itself reads, "Unbeknownst to many Americans, two foreign-owned proxy advisors, Institutional Shareholder Services, Inc. and Glass Lewis & Co., LLC, play a significant role in shaping the policies and priorities of America's largest companies through the shareholder voting process. These firms, which control more than 90% of the proxy advisor market, advise their clients about how to vote the enormous numbers of shares their clients hold and manage on behalf of millions of Americans in mutual funds and exchange-traded funds. Their clients' holdings often constitute a significant ownership stake in the United States' largest publicly traded companies, and their clients often follow the proxy advisor's advice." So just two of these advisory firms control more than 90% of their market. The congressmen are all up in arms about Warner Brothers selling, and whoever buys them is going to have outsized influence in the entertainment market. But these two companies are advising 90% of all shareholders that vote in company votes, which is massively more concerning than the Warner Brothers thing. What kinds of things are they advising? Well, Glass Lewis set guidelines against boards with less than one member who is either non-white or of a sexual minority. They also require explicit disclosures of company board oversight on climate issues. ISS advises voting against boards with no women, no racial diversity, and who have not taken steps to mitigate climate change. So that's why you see so many of these major company boards with their diversity boards that are disproportionate to the diversity of the general population. You see this all the time. It's obviously a diversity push. They also often make these climate change decisions that hurt the companies in many cases, whether it just be out of inefficiency or not aligned with the purpose of the company itself. These two organizations, obviously run by radicals, are part of the top-down cram-down to ruin the country through the DEI and ESG stuff. I'd love to say they're just radical leftists, but as it turns out, it's worse. Glass Lewis is owned by Peloton Capital Management and Stephen Smith out of Canada. And ISS is owned by Deutsche Börse Group out of Germany. That's right. So both of these are foreign-owned companies that are influencing 90% of the advisory market for all shareholders in America. So I don't think it's far-fetched to draw from that the impression that maybe these companies are using DEI and ESG as a weapon against America. That's not far-fetched. Obviously, both of those countries aren't just foreign countries. They're extremely liberal countries with certain animosities towards the U.S. Now, the executive order itself largely is demanding transparency and high level of scrutiny on these organizations and all their activities. It also calls upon regulatory agencies to review all of the laws and regulations regarding this industry, to review those and to make adjustments, especially over the course of the next year, is my understanding. All I can say is that it's very reassuring to finally have an administration that's willing to look into things like this. These companies have been growing their influence for decades, and this is the first most of us have heard about it. They're not the only organizations that have similar levels of control in the market, but certainly in their corner of the market, they have way too much, and it is about time we start looking into these companies. Before we move on, I want to talk to you about Riverside. Riverside is a powerful recording and video editing software that uses AI-powered tools to help speed up the process, buying you more time to create your next great video idea. With tools like remove pauses and remove filler words, you can really tighten up your content. And with Magic Audio, you can even use AI to adjust your voice to have more of a studio quality feel to it. They have tools to help you make edits, thumbnails, shorts, titles, descriptions, and even Instagram posts, and much more than that, all with the power of AI. I use Riverside myself. It's really helped save me time on editing, which I'm very slow at, and it's also helped me make higher quality videos, buying me more time back with my family. If you want to try Riverside yourself for free today, click on the link in the description below. Moving over to immigration, a Somali immigrant was just interviewed on Fox News, and he described what happened when he first moved here. Take a look.
There are much deeper issues. I've moved into the U.S. And in Maine about 11 years ago, and basically the first question that members of my community asked me which tribe I belong to, and when I mentioned, so I fell into that category. So there's a deeper tribal rivalry going on in the community, much larger than anybody can actually imagine. And then interestingly enough, even though I spoke very good English, one of the things that I was told to do is go find a discounted housing Section 8, which I didn't know what actually it was, and sign up for all the other community benefits within the government or the state. And my response was, I'm actually here to work and build, basic and become part of the American property. When I was in Somalia, a huge part of the population in Somalia, we're talking about 20 million people in Somalia, a huge number of that depended on $100 that family members in the U.S. sent back home. So there was not a lot of work to rebuild the country or get to work or, just basically building things. So this whole idea of receiving things the easy way has unfortunately actually evolved and became part of our way of life.
So he says that first he was asked what tribe he belongs to. Apparently back in Somalia, there are these deeply loyal, generational tribal lines people fall on, and that has translated through the immigration process to U.S. soil at this point, which means not only are these immigrants not wanting to integrate with American culture, they don't even want to integrate with each other. They want to retain these tribal factions as they come to the U.S., and it's so important to them. It's the first question he was asked by his community when he landed here. Next, Abdi says they encourage him not to work, but to hop immediately onto America's welfare programs. Now, if you wanted evidence that the safety net was way too comfortable in our country, there's Exhibit A for you. We've seen this actually played out to its extreme over in Minnesota by the Somali community over there, as it's now estimated they've defrauded the government to the tune of around $1 billion, sending the money largely back to Somalia to support their families and Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization. Which leads to his last point, which is that this isn't just hurting America, but it's actually hurting Somalia as well, as these Somalis are defrauding the government so that they don't have to work or contribute anything to our country. They're sending a lot of that money back home to fully support their families, so their families don't have to contribute to Somalia at all, creating an even worse situation in their country, which means even more people would want to come here. So your tax money is actually being used for welfare in Somalia so people don't have to work, not just here. It's international welfare, apparently. We're just going to help all those Somalis sit on their heinies and do nothing. To be honest, if I were a Somali myself, I might look at that as a pretty good deal. I mean, we send one of our family members over to America out of this stinky, dirty, violent country So they're going to go have a better life. They're not going to have to work. They can just defraud the American government, and they're going to send a bunch of that money back home, and we're all going to live a little better too. We'll be stuck in Somalia still, but at least we will be financially supported. This is yet another place where the president is paying attention like none of his predecessors before him. He has tightened immigration from Somalia by removing their temporary protected status. He sent notice that ICE will be going into Minnesota. And his administration is combing over all of the details of the suspected fraud. So this is really good stuff. Love to see it. People shouldn't be coming here if they're not going to benefit our country. Doesn't matter what they want to do for their country or their family. I know that sounds very impersonal, but when it comes to national issues, we need to be thinking about the nation. When we're talking about personal issues, we'll talk about you personally. But this is really good stuff. Trump, again, has his head on straight in a way that his predecessors just never really did. Moving on to our last story, Tyler Robinson, the alleged and highly probable assassin of the late, great Charlie Kirk, just had his first in-court appearance. The hearing largely aimed to decide the level of transparency and publicity that will be allowed in the courtroom during the actual trial. And the next time he'll be in the courtroom will be in May for his preliminary hearing. Now, the defense made arguments naturally against the cameras being allowed based on safety and privacy. They didn't convince the judge. The prosecution argued that since this was an extremely public crime and a highly consequential crime, that it just makes sense for the trial to be publicized as well for all those who want to tune in and see what's going on. Erica Kirk herself pushed for transparency, at least in part, to help quell some of the conspiracy theories that are just flying around the ether right now like crazy. She was asked about these directly, actually, in an interview just the other day. Take a look.
What are they taking from you right now?
Nothing. But I will tell you what they are doing. It reminds me so much of chapter 6 in the book of Nehemiah. He is building a wall, and the townspeople are at the base of that hill saying, Nehemiah, calling him all these names, saying all these things, come on down. Every single time he had the same message 4 times in a row. I cannot come down. I am busy building. That is how I feel. I do not have time to address the noise. My silence does not mean that I am complacent. My silence does not mean that somehow Turning Point USA and all of the hand-picked staff that loved my husband and my husband loved them is somehow in on it. We are busy building. And you know what I thought? I thought these people are human. We are all grieving in our own way. And they are trying to find the answer to something that happened that was so evil. They are trying so hard. And I get that. We're doing the same. Anytime we hear a lead or anytime we hear anything, we send it to the authorities. Please dig into this. No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want. Go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful, and we are human. My team are not machines, and they're not robots. They are human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again? They watched my husband get murdered.
You know, the conspiracies that are out there, all of the like, Do you think that there is more of it now because you do shine your light? I mean, did people just expect you would just go away?
I don't know what they expected. I don't know what they expected.
They pick on you because of your accessories. I mean, I've seen some of it.
Oh, yeah. No, at this point, it's what? The conspiracy collection. Get it before Christmas. Like, seriously. Wow. If you want to find and pick me apart, go right ahead. I do not care. I don't. This was happening before Charlie was murdered. Both of us have been through the ringer of people will call you whatever they want to call you. They will. But I have seen it firsthand impact the people that I love, and I'm done. I'm done. And if people think that I was just going to wilt away, I'm not going to sit in a corner and cry and be in fetal position. This is a duty to my husband, and it's an absolute honor, and I will never back down. And so my message to them is to stop. To stop.
She is obviously right about all of that. She seriously has become a role model for girls across America in the wake of her husband's assassination. It's amazing. The left is so quick to make heroes of women in the workforce and all these sorts of things. Apparently, unless they're a grieving widow who just took over their husband's enterprise while still raising her very small children who are dealing with the loss of their father, while the whole family is under the overwhelming microscope of the public eye and high levels of scrutiny, but also she happens to be conservative. Just another revealing moment for the left that they can't honor this woman and her strength in this moment. While all that is going on, TPUSA continues its incredible levels of growth, while the state of Tennessee officially partnered with TPUSA to help them put a Club America chapter into every high school in the state. Tennessee is not the first state to do this. They're actually the third, behind Florida and Texas. This is something that obviously every state should do across the country. It doesn't force kids into the club, but it does create a space for kids who are patriots, they love America, want to learn more about America, to go and do that with other kids who want to learn about America. It is a place where they can learn about the founding principles of our country and more about America herself more broadly. That is something the youth of America desperately need. If you've stuck around this long, please subscribe to my channel. I'm still kicking this show off the ground, and while I don't have a fancy studio yet, who knows where this thing's going, I think you would regret not being along for the ride. And while you're at it, leave a comment below. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. I love reading those, and I'd love to get back to you on any questions you have. In the meantime, I'm Jared Justin, and this has been Justin Perspective.